Welcome to Climb, a podcast designed for sales leaders looking to turn RevOps and RevTech into real growth drivers. Brought to you by SBI, this podcast features candid conversations between our host, Cliff Simon, and top go-to-market leaders. Each episode unpacks the strategies, challenges, and lessons that shape high-performing revenue teams, giving you actionable insights you can apply immediately to boost efficiency and scale smarter.
Welcome to another episode of The Climb, where we talk about go-to-market tactics that work today, not the tactics of 18 months ago or what worked 6 months ago, but what's working now. I'm joined today by Alina Vandenberghe, the co-CEO and co-founder of Chili Piper. Thanks so much for being here.
Cliff, I have to ask you, why The Climb? How did you decide on that name?
It was voted on by the people of LinkedIn.
Okay.
And it ties into the Carabiner theme, like the mountain climbing. And the idea being that tactically, if you can start executing on these things, you're going to rise up and be able to do better.
It suits, love it.
Try to be thematic with it, you know? So why don't you start off just telling everyone like a little bit about Chili Piper and what you guys are building this year?
Well, I started the company with my co-founder in 2016, so almost 9 years ago. Every startup is full with roller coaster rides. There's an up and there's down. Our company has gone through a lot of transformation. We were bootstrapped at the beginning, then we raised revenue. At the moment where the market was at its peak, then we had the SaaS downfall, and now there's the reinventing of SaaS via AI agents and all that movement, which is terribly exciting to me. Mm-hmm. So that's the theme that we're going with this year.
So last year you guys went through a rebranding process to become the demand conversion platform. What challenges have you faced over the last year in that move?
We had on a very ambitious mission to rebuild our platform to include all the potential ways in which our customers can improve on their demand. If you think of like having drift plus lean data plus the product that we used to have, which was just the concierge, the form improvement product, and like put them all together into something that made sense for customers to watch all their routing and all their places in the funnel where they can optimize. That took us quite a while to figure out how to do it well, have the UX be delightful and the complexity not that overwhelming, at the same time still solve for big enterprise problems, because we do have very large customers that are using our platform. Took us about 18 months to make it all work, and we launched in June last year. Okay. So about 6 months ago, as of this recording. And since then, we've been working to migrate all the customers that are still on our legacy platform to this new platform. Yeah, and it's been quite a ride. As you can imagine, there are a lot of benefits from it, but there are also some roadblocks on the way.
I mean, I remember when we were doing a lot of classic to lightning migrations on Salesforce. I can imagine the hiccups are quite similar in trying to deal with architecture changes and things that you may not have expected along the way.
Precisely, and some people love it, some people get distressed by having to look at something different. So I've learned a lot in the process, for sure.
So in going to the different platform play now, how has that changed the way that you guys are doing your positioning, your messaging when you go to market?
Like you, for naming our platform, we actually use our audience, so asking communities and asking social media what would fit us best for our tagline, for our platform name as well, and that's what we've been using for positioning. I love that I have that kind of audience to give me feedback. I feel very fortunate that I got to that point.
Yeah, I agree. Being able to get that sounding board and that feedback loop helps tremendously when it comes to iterating on a product, the positioning, the messaging, everything else. So you guys have been drinking your own champagne on this, right? You've got a great platform now. How do you use it to drive your business forward?
So last year, I took over the acting CMO for the team. We have 2 marketers that have generated close to 1,400 plus sales qualified opportunities. And to do that...
From 2 marketers?
From 2 marketers, yeah.
Talk about efficiency.
I got maniacal in efficiency, but also in building a lot of AI related flows to make sure that we don't have to do the work that's boring. And really the reason why we got such good results from so few resources is because we're very intentional about the channels that we're going after, but also very intentional to make sure that the funnels are not leaky, that they're going straight to opportunities. So it's not just passing over an MQL to sales. We're looking all the way to the opportunity creation and the pipeline creation. And we can't let any lead fall through the cracks. Every meeting counts. Every meeting counts.
I'd like to just take a step back there. You said you've created AI flows in order to take away the things that were boring and not fun, like the mundane for your marketing team. Can you double click on that?
Yes. When I started, one of the things that was driving me crazy is that we would have all these brand campaigns and we couldn't measure. We couldn't measure if the brand campaigns were...
Sound like a CFO.
weren't showing ROI for them. And everyone says, well, you need to measure views, impressions, traffic, search percentage, etc. And I think that all those things are clear indicators whether something is done well or not. But what really comes down to is, do the accounts that matter know about your brand? It's nice that everybody has in this area has heard of Chili Piper, but if none of my accounts are here, it does not matter. Those impressions don't matter. So I became laser focused on only my top accounts. I went straight to tiering them. I have 6 tiers for my accounts. My top tier accounts, there are 879 of them, which have a potential of 377,000 licenses that they can buy from me. If these accounts buy, my ARR is awesome. And I only have to target 879 accounts. And I just went and I got obsessed to making sure that I have first touches on them. And that, to me, that was my definition of a brand. Are those accounts that are my top ones, have they heard of me? So I focused on that, on first engagements and then on those particular accounts. As one example.
And then once you've made that brand play, your known entity to those accounts, how are you then going deeper, either from a persona level or like a one-to-one sort of like one-to-one hand-to-hand combat perspective?
So I started with that. That's like one of the examples of efficiency plays and the way we went about it. And we used a lot of AI agents to actually get to those accounts and to do steering. And because in our case, we actually have to go and search additional things about our accounts. It's not just the publicly available information. Then within these accounts, I have different segmentation depending on the company size, and there are different touches, personalized touches, depending on the segment. So for instance, if it's an enterprise account and I know what my revenue potential on that enterprise account is, I will show up at the door. I will knock on that door and they will hear about
you personally?
Me personally, yeah.
Okay.
Just to meet for coffee, just to meet for lunch. My first entry is not to pitch, is not to sell, is to understand what's important for them. Yes, I can do all the AI agents to do research for me, but internal politics, nobody gives you information on that. So,
100%. Yeah.
So those conversations can be had from many directions, and I'm one of the person that knocks at that door of that account, but I'm not the only one at Chili Piper that's gonna knock. We're gonna try to meet as many people from there to try to see how we can be of help to them before we even reach out.
I love that. I like the fact that you've narrowed it down. I mean, 849 sounds small, I think, to a lot of people. It's still a very large number when you're trying to go and do these very hand-to-hand, like CMO / or acting CMO, CEO play to CEO, right? How do you go and execute against that particular play? Like, are you saying out of these particular tranche of 50, I'm going to go at a time every month, or walk me through that a little bit?
So my top accounts are going to be part of multiple campaigns throughout the quarter. So we plan our game plan before the quarter starts, and we co-plan it with our sales team. They come with us with certain requests, they come with us with certain activities, and then on the marketing front, it's not that many of us, so we have to prioritize based on other campaigns that we might have for that quarter. For instance, we might have a product launch, or we might have like an event like this one that we're both at. So then we do some time expectation for our main activities, and then we see how much time we have left for these other campaigns for our top accounts. And everything that we do that quarter is going to touch every buyer in that buying group will get some sort of a touch, whether it can be just advertising, it could be just an email, it could be just a connection request, but we make sure that there's coverage.
There's something that's
There's
happening
some
programmatically
coverage.
for everyone within that buying group.
Yes.
Every quarter.
Yes.
Okay, very cool. What other plays are you guys running? I mean, I know you have a great partnerships team. I've had the privilege of working with them over the last few years. You've got that going, you've got a sales motion. What else are you guys doing? You do a lot from a community perspective, right? How does that all stitch in?
My priority for this year is tied to two main activities. One is local events. The reason why I'm betting big on local events is because of the sameness on social media right now and in our feeds. We can't know what's real and what not, what's good or what's bad. Is it AI generated? Like, we have no idea. So we're going to start trusting a lot more the people that we see around us with our own eyes.
Yeah.
And as a result, micro communities are going to become essential to our ability to make sense of the world, make sense of the news, and I believe people are going to get more curious towards that. So that's one pillar of our strategy for marketing this year. And the other one is going to be to keep everything that we do and every piece of content that goes out or any social post that we do is not going to come from a place of, hey, here's Chili Piper, here's what we do. It's going to come more of a place of, we want to form a connection to our audience and helping them to achieve their goals. And that's something that gets harder and harder and harder because we all have our attention more and more divided.
Yeah, split in 1,000 different directions. You've built what I would consider to be a fairly enviable brand in SaaS. Something that's not easy to do, right? But it seems to be this thing, and maybe this sort of ties into the culture we talked about a little bit. It permeates throughout the entire organization. Like, the brand identity, the culture, it's infectious. And you've been able to maintain it for quite some time in a completely remote environment. Could you talk about, I know it's a sort of harder question, but could you talk about how brand and culture have helped drive the company forward?
As a CEO, there's only as much as I can do to be the evangelist of the company, to be there in front of a customer. I can't replicate, I can't create clones of myself. And I figure that the best beacons for my brand are my employees. And if they believe in our mission, if they believe in what we do, then they will be much representatives than I can. It's really hard to manage to create beautiful culture at scale on a remote basis because you're not there all the time and they may not see you as an example to emulate. However, I believe that actions matter a lot more than words when it comes to culture, and if they see that we truly care about every employee and every employee feels supported to do whatever they feel is best for them, we're gonna provide that support net for them. If they decide that that's outside of Chili Piper, we will provide that support. If they decide that they want to be rocket scientists or something different, we're going to support them on that. And having that kind of support behind you in a world that frankly you feel lonely sometimes and isolated is very helpful to develop yourself professionally in that kind of environment.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool because I've seen and interacted with dozens of people on your team over the last few years, and whether or not they're still at Chili Piper, like, they always speak well of Chili Piper and they always speak fondly of their time there. And I've seen a bunch of people come back, I think because they went out into the world and had an opportunity, but they just seem to always find a reason to come back to you guys because of what you've built.
I feel very, very, very grateful to see that. I feel incredibly lucky to have managed to create that, but again, it's very hard.
Well, to build a successful company, you have to have good people, and employee retention is such an important component of it. I think it's one that a lot of companies overlook as a way to actually drive revenue growth and sustainable growth. So if you could, what's some advice that you might give out to your fellow CEOs and or folks in the C-suite in order to help drive that?
I actually feel quite sad for my fellow CMOs because they all know that brand and culture go hand in hand, and you can't have a great brand if the people that represent you feel sad or angry or unfulfilled. And CMOs already know that, but it's very hard for them to have a discussion with their CEO to say, hey, we have to work on culture, we have to work on culture. It's like, it feels very posturing to do that from a CMO seat, and they can only influence the things that they have control over. And I only kind of understood that throughout the years, how important they were, but I would have had a hard time without that first-hand experience. So I would think that if CEOs are serious about brand, it really starts with their team feeling that they're in the right spot.
And when you say their team, not just the broader company, but do you feel like that needs to really be a mandate at the executive level?
It comes with every single employee. And oftentimes you meet CEOs and they say everything is great, everything is wonderful, because that's how they are supposed to come as leaders in front of their team and give reassurance. But oftentimes you can read their body language, and you know that they say everything is great, but you don't quite feel it in their body language, because oftentimes themselves are miserable, and oftentimes themselves they want to exit. So it's hard for them to show up. Everything is great when there's internal turmoil. And oftentimes we can read a lot more than words. So in my case, I constantly look to make sure that myself I'm in the right spot, that I'm doing the kind of things that bring me joy, that I'm not doing the type of things that lead to burnout. And that's what I seek for my team as well, to always consider how we're working, to always look at the type of things that drain us, to maybe give them to AI bots. You know, we don't have to do the boring stuff. We don't have to.
That'd be really nice. I hate doing the boring stuff.
We all do.
But isn't it just you have to get through it and do the grind?
I don't think so. If you find yourself that you're in a grind, there's something wrong. That there's always some solution to the grind. And look, this American culture of grinding and hustle, I respect it. I'm an entrepreneur and I hustle. Yet without the breaks, you just can't push yourself that hard. You're going to burn out at some point. Yeah. And whatever format that might be for those that are hustling, it's just sad, because we're half of our lives at work. And
I'd say more than that for a lot of us in the C-suite, right?
Yeah.
One thing I've really enjoyed about getting to know you for the last few years is just the amount of introspection that you take, and the way that you critically evaluate yourself. I think there's a lot that other leaders could learn from that, as far as just like taking a step back and realizing it's not all about them, and being able to then say, okay, how do I show up best in order to support my team and make sure that they can reach their goals and keep moving forward. So
you can definitely see a lot of my monologue online on the type of things that I go through. It's interesting that I've put my life on the internet. It feels a little bit strange still, but I'm finding that the process that I myself go through to find joy in my work is helpful maybe to others, because everybody might deal with internal demons, of our internal monsters that, and especially my terrorist, my inner critic is very, very loud. And I want to normalize that even as a CEO, I'm going through it, then it's okay for everybody to go through it. I normalize the internal demons for sure.
Well, I think it's really good for everyone to be introspective and to say, what can I do differently? What can I do better? And we all have questions and doubt, and It's normal. It's part of the human experience.
We are all work in progress.
100%. At the end of an episode, we always ask our guests to leave a question for the next guest. In your case, you've got two, because, well, Katie. So 2 quick ones from Katie, and then we'll get one from Morgan. Katie wants to know if he's your favorite customer.
Always.
I'm gonna tell Andrea you said that.
They're all my favorite customers.
And I think we talked about the other one a little bit, which is how you build out your culture fully remote. And it sounds like it's a lot of intentionality and making sure that it is a focus, not just from the C-suite, but through every portion of the business. Okay. With Morgan, the question was, how are you going to use AI to manage content and build out internal things at the company?
These days, I have 99% of my brain occupied by AI agents. The rest 1% is lost. The 99% of my brain is spent on agents because I believe so much can be automated and so much can be done by just giving tasks to the agent, as long as the tasks are understood and the access to the data is happening.
And that the data is accurate?
That the data is accurate and the bots are managed correctly. I believe that the job of the future is chief architect of AI agents, manager of AI agents. Those are like the next roles in the organizations. Because right now, when I go to fill out a form and they ask me what my company size is, like I feel like, I don't know, thousands of agents, God knows. Then we create all new ones. And you can apply all sorts of agents for top of the funnel, for middle of the funnel, for bottom of the funnel, to multi-thread.
Can you create a unicorn with 10 employees?
100%. Which is both exciting for an entrepreneur like me, but it's also extremely sad because we don't quite know what the future will look like. And on the sadness topic, and I'm gonna end it on that, I actually don't think that AI is that horrifying, though I went through my down periods where I thought that that's the case. I think it's going to get humans to be skeptical of everything that they say, they see, and as a result, they're going to get outside of their devices, outside of their phones, and they're just going to go outside and smell the roses. And
I don't think that's a bad thing.
And I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah. I mean, you and I both go to a ton of events. I think the human-to-human connection, being able to, I mean, that's the reason we're doing this podcast live, right? In person, right? The interpersonal connection matters.
It's so much more, it just feels so different than meeting, than having a chat with AI. It's so much more powerful.
Agreed. Okay, I don't know 100% who the next guest is going to be, but I'm going to be interviewing Megan Bowen pretty soon.
Okay.
Anything you want to ask Megan?
Very curious how you're responding to customers who want you to build AI agents. What do you tell them? What AI agents are you building?
Thank you so much for being on the episode. Thank you so much for inviting us out to the desert. Really looking forward to kicking off Chili Palooza. It sounds so fun. I told my wife what it was called. She's like, no, not really. I'm like, yeah, they've been planning this, like wanting to do something like this for years. So really excited that we get to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to SBI's Climb podcast with Cliff Simon hosting. Visit SBI Growth to read SBI's latest research, join upcoming events, or learn more about SBI's go-to-market services. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and connect with us on LinkedIn.